Good Thursday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV. No, come on, boy, you ain't going that way. Hey, welcome to the Internal Combustion Engine Age YouTube channel. It talks about the cars and trucks, motorcycles, SUVs, dogs. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in my channel this morning on my daily morning conversation. I like to talk and share my ideas and passion for my vehicles and all that good stuff. And wow. Come on, Pops, boy, I'm off to a slow start this morning. I mean, I'm like 20 minutes behind. I mean, it's just what's going on. I get out of bed early, but by the time I do all these chores and this and that. Hey, full Jeep Gladiator over here. Look at that beautiful Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I got the new Husky Liner floor mats. I love those things. They're really nice, soft, rubbery material. I did a little short video on that. Come on, pups. Come on, you guys are slow. I mean, everybody's slow. Look at this here. They're like dragging. You know, yesterday I rode around my four-wheeler and I ran these dogs pretty good. And a kid, I don't know if you saw that video of my daughter, a short of me videoing her going across the field over there. And holy crap, she just about ran over my favorite little dog. I mean, that's a very freaky video. If you go to the shorts, you'll see that. Come on, Pops, let's get going. Yeah, everybody's moving slow. What is that all about? Come on, Pop, let's go. Come on, get in. Get in. Get in. So, well, I guess the theme of the day is slow. Did my Ford F-150 Lightning slowly charge up? Yeah, this conversation is all about slow. That's what I think we'll talk about. And me being the EV guy and the Ice Age guy, I think it's all appropriate on the, because I have the different types of vehicles and I can share my views. And hold on here. Got to get in my office here and get the day going. Come on, Pops, let's go. Come on. Boy, everybody's just, it's like everybody's wore out. I mean, this is classic. I mean, I did run them. Come on, go. Get here. I mean, this is kind of entertaining to a degree. The dogs, they're starting to show their age. They're just a little worn out, but hey, that's a good thing. They're not so riled up from having to chase them on the damn, right? Oh my gosh! I tell you, it just doesn't end. The projects. You know, I went yesterday to buy a freaking printer cartridge, laser cartridge. Those things are so damn expensive. Bought the wrong damn one. I've had the same printer for like the last 5 years. I need a 202A, not a 201A. It's just, it costs $100. Goes just for one toner. You can spend $300-400 putting cartridges in your laser printer. That used to be like $70 in the good old days. Anyways, get my coffee in me and get me going here. So yeah, today's conversation I thought would be a great conversation. It's slow, and I think to myself, boy, oh boy, anybody that drives on the roads, isn't it the worst? When you're behind somebody that drives slow, I mean, is that just so aggravating? I mean, it really is. It's so challenging to drive down the road when a person in front of you is just putting along, and it's a double lane road. It's a 2-lane road, but it's a double line, I should say. It's a double line road. And then if anybody here rides down the road, it's the game where the guy in the left-hand lane is driving slow down the road, and let's just say it's a 2-lane, one-way, road. And then the person plays the game of locking you down where you can't get around them on the right-hand side because they're driving slow. And then when you want to try to speed up, then they speed up to lock you in so you can't get by them. Who hasn't had that happen? And believe it or not, in the state of Virginia, I've talked about this before. I mean, I would imagine it's every state, but in the state of Virginia, the law is you have to move to the right-hand lane when somebody comes up on you, as long as you can move over within reasonable fashion. But yeah, the real story is, for anybody out there doing roadblock in left-hand lane, that's actually borderline, it's a ticket, believe it or not, but there ain't no cop going to write that damn ticket. Yeah, I mean, sincerely. Yeah, when do you see that happen? Cop pulls up behind a guy going down the road too slow, but that's a law. If you're going under the speed limit, left-hand lane technically can be ticketed. But yeah, person gets a ticket is a guy like me that tries to get around a person. That happened to me back in 2018. Is I blasted out, not knowing a cop was behind me, and yeah, he busted me for blasting out to try to get around the guy in the left-hand lane. that created my freaking ticket, But yeah, argue with the cop about that. Well, the guy was going below his speed limit, Mr. Officer. He was on his foot. No, I can't take that guy to court. I just busted you good. So, anyways, the slow conversation. I think to myself, where we are today at the technology in these cars, it's beyond believable. That F-150 Lightning truck is so wicked fast. And here's the thing. That Ford Power Boost with that electric hybrid, the hybrid setup, that thing is very fast. But the Lightning truck, I would say the Lightning truck is faster. And it's just incredible on how us Ice Age guys will we be looked at down the road as the slow age. And keep in mind, I know you have top fuel. I know you have ICE per se vehicles that burn fossil fuels that are fast as all get out. But for the average car today, the future of the average electric vehicle that's coming to the masses, to us, these things are incredibly quick and fast. And the gas cars are slow. Yeah, Dodge is already talking about how the new Dodge Charger is going to be the fastest. The Banshee Dodge Charger Daytona Edition is going to be the fastest SRT brand performance built ever for Dodge, production-wise, of you being able to buy one. So there's no doubt in my mind, a person that goes out and buy that Banshee product, whether you get it late 2024 or 2025, and they would pull up next to me in my Hellcat Red Eye, I guarantee he's going to smoke me off the line. If I'm correct, I think it's an all-wheel drive vehicle. I think just going to be a rocket ship, no doubt. And how do you handle that? How do you handle when the SUVs are showing up left and right and the big trucks showing up left and right and you're in your Corvette or what you think's your fast car and these cars just walk you like you can't believe? For me, driving all these different vehicles, I can tell you that when I drive the vehicles, it's such a big change of feeling. So when I drive that Jeep Gladiator, I just like the Jeep product. I just always have. Even though yesterday my daughter's like, that Jeep really does walk. I'm like, yeah, that's what the Jeeps do. Anybody wants to argue, which is in a Ford Bronco forum, you would argue if the guy owns a Jeep. But no, they don't walk that much. No, it's like, just admit it. The car walks. That's just part of the product. That's the nature of the vehicle. Okay. That's just part of the Jeep feeling. It's just like my Harleys. Does it feel like a lead sled? In some ways, absolutely it does. Compared to my Honda Goldwing, oh my gosh. Is that Honda Goldwing wicked fast? It is. Does it make my Harleys feel slow? Sure does. It doesn't make any of my, the Indian product. It's I wouldn't say so much about the Challenger. That's that liquid-cooled motor. But the biggest difference is it's shifting motorcycles. That Harley doesn't have a DCT Harley. Indian doesn't have a DCT Indian. So even for Honda, I have raced other Honda Goldwing people with the same bike that's a stick shift over the DCT, and the DC just walks it. Just, bang, gone. So you're the slower, just like in cars. If you have a manual transmission these days, you're the slower of the two if you race somebody with the same package that has the DCT automatic transmission versus the manual transmission, like these SRT Scat Packs that I've owned. They are so much fun, the automatic transmission. I bought that Gold Rush Scat Pack edition here a few years ago, and it's a manual. I did not like that vehicle. It was a dog. To me, it was just so damn slow. Because when you'd nail it, you'd have to come out of whatever gear you thought was the right gear to put it in gear. No way. When you nail it in that 8-speed automatic, that thing just bing, bam, gone. And even for me, is it 8-speed, 7-speed? Jesus Christ. The Fords are 10-speed. Trying to keep track of all the damn gears. So I'm just thinking, that's an 8-speed. But I don't live in them enough to remember. That's the problem. So anyways, the manual is the slower of the two. So for us individuals that live on the roads, yeah, how do you handle the slow-paced drivers? But at the same time, who hasn't had the story where you're kind of getting up the road and you're getting up the road and then you do run into somebody. They're not really slow per se, but they're slower than the pace you want to go. And you crest over the hill and there's a motorcycle cop. And you're thinking, wow, if it wasn't for that person in front of me being a little slower, I probably would have been sitting beside the road right now getting a freaking ticket. So sometimes to me, or the deer runs out across of you. Like I ride my motorcycles the back roads, and every now and then a slow person will get in front of me. And I just think, I guess this is the buffer zone. Maybe this is for a reason. maybe as I go up the road, just like something's going on, and this person here being slower, they actually kind of did me a favor for just kind of slowing down. And sometimes you just have to take that back seat in that. But a lot of times you're on the open highways, it's just maddening. And that's what creates the road rage. Yeah, so the slow part, I know people ask me, what's your favorite car? What's your fastest car? And I just think to myself now, wow, with having the electric vehicles in my life, me owning these and driving them, it is incredible. That Ford F-150, I've been working on it all week long. It is just incredible how you can just blast people. I mean, it is just instantaneous, whoosh as you go by people to get by. So you have a person holding that left-hand lane, and they just have no clue on how I can go right-hand lane and get it. And that Ford Lightning has different drive modes. The regular normal mode, sport mode, tow mode, eco mode. So you do have different settings. That sport mode definitely opens up more power to that F-150 Lightning truck. And you feel it. I mean, when you turn that on, you feel that truck get more energy. Ford is really interesting how Ford, over any other manufacturer I have owned, when you go to different sports settings, it's like Ford isn't giving you all your power. I talk about this all the time. In the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, that has a setting for you to have sport mode, the Hellcats, sport mode, GT500 sport mode. But it's night and day. My Ford GT500, when I go from normal riding, which it's slow, it really is. It's a dog because you're not getting all the power. When you go into that sport mode, that Ford GT500 comes to life, and it's a whole different animal. Now, in my Hellcats, when I go into my sport, or track settings, you don't feel that. Only thing you feel different is the suspension changes, the steering changes, the shifting changes, but you don't feel like the car opened up more power for you to be able to drive the car more aggressively. But the Ford product, to me, I think they deliberately don't have all the power going in normal mode just to try to get a little better gas mileage. So, I'm telling you straight up, the Ford Bronco, same thing. My Ford Ranger, same thing. When you go from that regular driving mode to the sport mode, you feel that vehicle get an energy. And then my Power Boost, the Power Boost, same thing. When you go in, my Ford Raptor truck, Ford, I think, has mastered the more uniqueness of that slow feel to the fast feel on the different settings when you go to a sport mode in these vehicles. And it's significant. And that Ford Bronco Raptor, that setting from normal to sport was a radical difference in how that vehicle performed. Same thing with my Power Boost. That Power Boost to me is right there, borderline on that inertia energy of that Ford F-150 Lightning truck. I really think it's really close. That Ford F-150 Power Boost is such a really cool truck because you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting that electric, instantaneous torque, and you're getting the gas engine, so you still have that engine sensation. And then when you're parked in that Power Boost, and I work on my Power Boost, it's so cool. The engine turns off, all electronics are on, an electric battery pack is running the truck. You don't have to power it off, which that's a really cool thing. And speaking of cool, one thing for sure, that Ford F-150 truck, Lightning truck, it is cold. So in the colder days, that vehicle, you're cold. You don't get that, naturally aspirated engine that has that big block in front of you. So first of all, you got this big engine in front of your firewall of your vehicle, and that engine is putting off heat, but also you've got your conventional heater core where you're using the heat off of the fluids of the motor that are heating up your interior because of the engine running and having hot fluids. Well, on that Ford F-150 Lightning, it's cold. I mean, you're like, you can turn that little heater thing up and you're just cold. It is not the same. It's just really amazing. Like I said, I think I kind of hit on one aspect. You don't have an engine in front of you that's hot, that's radiating any like heat back into that firewall to just kind of help warm up that vehicle. Now, Ford, I think, has a good idea, and if Ford does listen to me, because they've already talked about it in their service vans, they're going to make the surface have be energized for heat. So their theory is maybe we need to make the floor pan of the vehicle a heated surface, so it helps heat the vehicle. Because right now, the heat is just coming through the conventional vents. Then you get your heated seat, and so that aspect, that's not probably a bad idea. You even have borderline have the front firewall, have a heating thing just so the truck catches on fire, right? Yeah, then for the EV vehicles, as we know, the biggest challenge is they are slow to re-energize themselves. And that's the big argument. The big concern is, why am I going to go to an electric vehicle when I could spend 20, 30, 40 minutes or an hour trying to re-energize it to keep moving, when in a 5-10 minute time frame at a gas station, I'm in and out and I'm moving another 400 or 500 miles, right? So that's the biggest challenge. It's kind of ironic, because on one aspect, the EV vehicle is the faster vehicle. They really are. But in the other aspect, they're the slower vehicle of being re-energized. The Ice Age vehicle is the faster of re-energizing it, but is really the slower of the two. If you really go and drive one, and it's just a weird feeling. It's because of those. The thing about these electric cars and trucks is the slowing down. It's a really weird inertia because it has the wheel motors. And most people, like me, I use one pedal driving, which is really cool. One pedal driving means that you're using the wheel motors to slow you down and regenerate more energy back into the battery pack, because it's the inertia of the energy as you slow down. You're not pushing the vehicle's slowing itself down with those wheel motors, and it's electrifying the battery pack, regenerating energy in the battery pack, but it's a drag, So as you slow down that car, let your foot off that pedal, you literally have a drag. And so for the passengers, it's really a borderline get car sick. I've heard stories get car sick in electric vehicles because of that one pedal driving, because you're so used to sitting in a gas engine car, and when you take off the gas, the car just, for the most part, it's coasting to a slower to slow down, and then you put your brake on with your foot. But these electric vehicles, when you let off that pedal, the vehicle instantly pushes you forward, because it's now using the wheel motors to slow the vehicle down, but also it's a lot of generative force that your whole body and everything feels. So it's a weird feeling. So what you have in those electric vehicles, it gets kind of borderline just weird and aggravating to a degree, is you have this, you pull back, and then all of a sudden you're going forward. Then you're being pulled back, then you're going forward. And more so than the gas cars. The gas cars don't have the same torque. So when I drive that Jeep and I get into that Jeep, it's just, it's something that's like 280 foot-pounds of torque, versus like the electric truck has like 600 or 700 foot-pounds of torque. Or the Mustang Mach-E has like 500 or 600 foot-pounds of torque. So it's a totally different feel once you accelerate the vehicle, but then it's a huge difference when you deaccelerate the vehicle, because of that constant inertia of back and forth. It's like you're in a rocking chair being pushed back and forth in that vehicle. And then I see, like, my daughter, she doesn't like it because it's what I'm talking about. It's that constant, you don't know what's going to happen. You're not used to you thinking what energy is going to be exerted from you as you're kind of just sitting there in the seat, where it's kind of catches you off guard. So, but once again, for the electric vehicle, it's incredibly fast vehicle. And that Ford F-150 Lightning truck so far for me, mine has 17,000 miles on it. And it was bought, I think, September last year. It really, for the most part, hasn't had any issues. And many people, I don't disagree, like, you shouldn't charge that thing in that barn to burn it down. But as I said earlier, what I do is I don't plug that truck in until it's cooled down for many hours. I think we run the risk, but I think it's those Pro Chargers. I think that these fires, but I don't know. I'm just speaking off the tip of my tongue. I think that the Pro Chargers, which are, see, I have the 220 charging in my shop here, so it's like a 10 to 20 miles per hour recharge. So if you need 200 miles, you're going to need at least 10, 12 hours of charging, if not 14 hours. Now, my understanding is on these Pro Chargers, you're going to charge a car to go 200 miles, or you're going to replenish, let's just say, 100 kilowatts. That's a 131 kilowatt battery. And if I need to recharge 100 kilowatts, that's going to be at least 14 hours of charging, 12 conservative. So the Pro Chargers, my understanding is those things are like 2 to 4 hours, if even that. So the amount of energy is being forced into that battery pack. Yeah, I mean, I honestly could see if you've been riding around all day in your car and you come back home and you've maximized that battery and then you plug it into your Pro Charger. I mean, I just think you're dealing with a lot of things are extremely hot. So, but I don't know. I mean, it'll be infinite on the people that oppose the EV vehicle, all the negatives against the ICE vehicle. And I get all that. And for me, I'm just very fortunate to own both. And if I had to, pick and choose which I would keep, I've said it from day one, it'd be the Ford Power Boost. It's the hybrid setup. There's just no way that I would want to deal with the aggravation of the electric vehicle, me traveling to Tennessee and Florida, of always having to try to find charging stations. And once again, as more people, people will argue that are pro EV and think that's, everybody's making too much hype over all this stuff. What they don't want to talk about is how slow it is to recharge a vehicle in real world atmosphere. Meaning, as these vehicles pick up and are many on the road, and you go to a charging station, and if a few of the charging stations are broken, and there's one or two people ahead of you to charge your car, it's over. I mean, you're talking at least an hour waiting for two people to get out from what you did, be conservative number. So I would say very conservative, an hour and a half of time. And okay, so now, and then you go another maybe 300 miles. So if you have 1,000-mile trip, I mean, all of a sudden it could turn into 4 to 5 hours of just delayed time of you recharging your car. So it just isn't. It's just not, as I say, having the hybrid setup, that's such a better package. And that's anybody out there watching my channel, and like, well, I want to get an F-150 Lightning, and they said, what would be your views on me getting one? I would say, if you have multiple vehicles that you can travel in, you have bigger vehicles, you have family, then yeah, the F-150 Lightning truck I think would be great for you. If they said no, I am on a very tight budget, this would be like the family vehicle for going everywhere and going places and going on long trips and towing, I'd be like, no, get the Power Boost. Buy the Ford F-150 Power Boost. If a guy reached out to me and said, hey, I've got my own contracting company and I'm doing 200-mile days and blah, 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 I'd like, get the freaking Lightning truck. It's a great vehicle. But then he said, well, but I like to go travel and I like to tow and I like to go away on camping trips and blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing, 500 miles. I'd be like, no way. You better buy the Ford Power Boost. And that's a great vehicle to have. And on going over the road, you're not going to save any money on your electric vehicle once you're out on the road and paying the kilowatt per kilowatt. It's all the same to gasoline with a vehicle that's within reasonable gas mileage. So, but yeah, being at home and recharging your vehicle, yeah, you're going to save yourself money substantially over fuel. Now, here's another thing to think about is slow. Here comes my kid. She's up here because she thinks I should be done talking. She's a little early. That's all good. So, Yeah, it's shorts day. It's going to be 85 degrees out.
I haven't seen you in shorts in a year.
Well, no, that would have been back down in January in Florida. Anyways, the kids here. So slow. Talking about slow. Wow. So people are slowing down and making their car payments. Yikes. They're showing. They just had a big in Florida, in Orlando. They just had the repossession convention. Yeah, there's an annual repossession meeting where all the guys that repossess cars get together and chat among themselves. And right now, the numbers have doubled from like a 3.4%, X amount of cars repoed, to now it's like 5.9%, and it's growing. So people are slow to make their car payments. I talked to my good friend at the Dodge dealer, Jeep dealer. I bought all my vehicles here recently. He said it's incredibly slow. He claims that on Tuesday, they sold one vehicle for the whole day. Wow. Yeah, when you're a dealership that's selling 300 cars a month and you only sell one car, so get this, Capital One has pulled the plug on dealer floor plan financing, meaning that most of these dealers, they don't own these cars. These cars are guaranteed through banks to hold the notes on these cars, and that's why most dealerships like to move cars in 60 to 90 days, because after X amount of time, the manufacturers call the note due on these vehicles, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, I'm not real sure, and the manufacturer sends the dealer a bill to buy the car outright from the manufacturer, and the dealerships need these banks like Capital One to carry that debt for them to manage your business. And then what happens is they may be paying $300 a month interest on that car that's sitting on the lot, and they just have to factor that, they can get rid of it in 5 or 6 months, but then eventually they come to a crossroads. They just got to get rid of this thing. So that's huge. Capital One has pulled out all the car dealers, period. Capital One no longer services debt. And over the next 90 days, these dealers have to get their act together, and they're going to call the note due on all these cars that they're leveraged themselves with. And so, you have to come to the table, or you got to find another banker to carry the note. Wells Fargo's done the exact same thing. Ally Financial has done the exact same thing. So a lot of these big banks are slowly getting out of the car floor plan business model because they're very concerned that things are slowing down. Wow. I was reading here last night that this is very concerning. So in 2019, there's these apps out there where you can buy your groceries and pay later. You can buy your clothing, pay later. It's now a pretty big business, pretty big industry that was carrying about $2 billion in debt. You just listen to what I just said. $2 billion in debt in 2019 of people having to use credit to manage their cash flow from paycheck to paycheck. Today, it's $29 billion. Think that, wow. So it's just about has tripled. And you read these stories about how so many people right now are so strapped and so struggling from all the inflation, and they're literally buying groceries on, buy it today and pay later. And what's enticing about these apps is you can spend $300 on your groceries today, and as long as you pay it off within X amount of time, they don't charge you anything. But if you don't, then they get you on late fees and start charging you interest. And that's where people get themselves buried into these borrowed monies. Is up front, you think, all right, I can borrow $300 and I'll just pay it back, and I'm not going to have to pay any money on that money I just took from somebody else. But most people never do it. That's why these big businesses are so successful. People end up paying interest and penalties on the money. $300 turns into $400. But it's a huge growing trend. And there's article after article of people out there that are really struggling more than ever, per se, in the recent times. And one person's talking about how their rent where they were living or mortgage where they're living went from like $2,500 to like $3,300. And he had 2 cars, and he had 1 car repossessed because he couldn't afford to pay for it anymore. So now it's just a 1-car family, and he's struggling like you can't believe. And it's just interesting. Has anybody really seen any of this stuff on the media? Has anybody really seen the Media Machine get out in the streets and start talking to people about how challenging it is right now because of how expensive everything has become? I mean, wow. And then look at Tesla. Tesla's down on its profits, but per se, it's up on its production. But I talked about it the other day. Tesla has cut their price again. Why does he keep on cutting their prices? Well, we know why. Because it's becoming more competitive. And my guess would be that somebody has to slow down. Who's going to slow down, right? Who's going to slow down? Then that's how you have to play the game. Who slows down first? If you keep on discounting your cars and the competitors aren't, then people will probably monger over to your side and buy a car while the other guy loses the deal. But you're just giving away your profits to kind of keep. What they're talking about is Tesla's really evolving to the typical car company. Like, did anybody just hear that statement? Typical car company? When does the stock reflect the typical car company that's anywhere from a $10 stock to a $60, $80 stock, maybe a $100 stock? But the profit center for Tesla is really starting to become more in line with the regular automotive industry manufacturing. But Elon's goal is to make it very challenging for the other EV manufacturers to compete with them because he knows how expensive it is to make cars and they don't have the volumes to offset the expenses. So he knows that these other manufacturers are going to be struggling for quite some time until they get the volume that he has. Because Tesla right now has the number one volume of selling electric vehicles. Are things slowing down? I mean, if you look at all the markets, look at all the indicators, and what's really interesting to me here is, boy, oh boy, 2008, things slowed down. It was really 2007. It was September of 2007 when what I call the lights turned off, where people just kind of disappeared. But the next biggest thing was, too, in 2008, the rain slowed down. And for me, having property here, I'm going to tell you what. I talked about it a little bit yesterday when I walked in my office. The rain has slowed down here. I have not seen this area per se, this dry, but I could eat my words because it could be a May. It could come back in May where the rains come in. Because last year, I can kind of remember this as well. It was kind of dry, but then the rains kind of came in. But at the same time, you kind of have to look at like the opposite coast, West Coast to East Coast. It seems like when West Coast has no rain, the East Coast is getting all the rain. When the West Coast is getting all the rain, then the East Coast ain't getting no rain. Is it kind of play that way? I don't know. But here's the point. For anybody that's a landscaper, lawn maintenance, I just think these individuals, and I could be really wrong because I'm not in the industry, but just on looking outside the box, for me, it's like we had no winter. So all these landscaping guys had no winter monies per se. Now this spring, the grass is not growing by any means like it usually does. The ground is already extremely dry. And I'm just thinking, wow, if we end up having a very dry summer for all these like landscaping guys, is that a huge hit against these guys? It's huge. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the year that this whole country was going broke, and I went through incredibly financial challenges, the whole area of the East Coast dried up. It was the driest summer, 2008, in over 100 years of record keeping of weather. And so is that a symbol of what's to come? Is the slowing down of the rains and the weather? And yeah, I know down in Florida, they got destroyed. So yeah, I get all that. I mean, it's pockets of the area, but this Middle Atlantic area, I think it's borderline in a drought. I don't know. But to me, is it an indication of what's to come when everything's drying up? Wow. I don't know. Anyways, hey everybody, thanks for watching my channel. Gotta go. And it's always the yabba dabba doo, talking, sharing, giving ideas, sharing experiences. Hope they can relate to you. So, once again, stay safe, stay tuned, and God bless. Have a great day.